Hello, everybody. How's everyone? Everything looks okay. It's time to have fun. Fun in the sun. Hey, everybody, welcome. And it's Friday. And of course, 2000 hours Universal Time on Fridays. We have the live show. Welcome to this Shortwave radio show. It's a live stream that's every Fridays at 2000 hours Universal Time. My name is Gilles, located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. We talk about radio. We talk about long wave, medium wave, short wave, sometimes other frequency ranges. But the main focus here is 30 megahertz or below. Hope everybody had a great week. It's very hot today here. It's close to the 90s right now. And with the humidity, it feels like 40 Celsius, they say. So that's like past 100. So you know what? I'm happy to be here in the air conditioning, doing the live show and listening to the radio rather than being out there. The only place I could see myself out there would be on a beach. Nothing else. Only a beach. So nice to have everybody on board. There's a beautiful chat room with fantastic people. If you guys want to ask a question, chat, or just have fun. Great people here. And it's really a lot of fun because it's very cool that, we have all these people showing up and enjoying radio. We can at least here geek out our radio selves and not being looked like we are weird or bizarre people. Here we're all normal. So nice to have everybody on board. And of course, cheers. I've got my first beer of the day. Cheers, everybody. Okay, chat room. Hey, Theo. Nice to have you on board, Theo. WOHP 1390. Nice to have you on board, Rick. W8PRR from a boiling hot Western Ohio. Bobby Burgess, nice to have you here. WA5107 SWL from Louisiana, USA. And glad that you're all right after Tropical Storm Barry. We haven't heard a lot, so I guess it wasn't too bad because we haven't heard a lot about it in the news. Hopefully things are all right down there. Matambale in Colorado, nice to have you here, my friend. Todd Schmidt, nice to have you here. Nick Amado from Romania, nice to have you on board. Driver Films Shortwave, nice to have you on board. Says there's a pirate on 60 to 80 kilohertz picking it up in the UK. No ID yet of what it is, so hope that you get an ID soon. And there's a lot of pirate activity in Europe. A lot of activity also on the pirate side here in North America lately. Little Rancher, nice to have you here. Mark Cope, nice to have you on board from Dallas, Texas. And nice to have you here. It's pretty cool. Volts, nice to have you on board, my friend. Always nice to have you here from Latvia. As we are going to have more fun with radio today. So no problem, my friend. I totally understand. But it's at least nice that you show up and say hi. John Pickney, nice to have you here from Northern Virginia. Pretty cool. Where the heat index is 107 Fahrenheit, 42 Celsius. It's pretty much that same thing here in Montreal today. Nice to have you here, W3XWT. Data Duden, nice to have you here, my friend. PLF Radio, bonjour et bienvenue de la France, toujours un plaisir. Zachary Antle, nice to have you on board. Kevin Wood from Nova Scotia, nice to have you here. And Todd Schmidt, first time watching live, welcome aboard. Hope you have fun. David Arden, KJ4CMY, nice to have you here. K6YYL Kimberly, nice to have you on board from California. Hola de Eduardo. Jay Watterson 69. Nice to have you on board. Paul the cat is not far. There's a box in the alley, and that goes to the kitchen. And lately, in the past couple of weeks, it's been his new place to sleep. He sleeps on the box. So you know. 26 DX59 DXer, nice to have you here from England. Mr. Blackpool, nice to have you on board from the UK. Nick Mayakovsky, nice to have you on board, my friend. NDRC, nice to have you here. Pretty cool to have you on board from Cornwall, UK. Very wet Cornwall, first in 2 weeks. Wow. Ralph Bender, nice to have you on board from Germany, my friend, and thanks for the donation that you sent me today. Much welcome. Ellen321, nice to have you here, my friend. Yeah, well, it depends on the attitude, and it depends on the where in Canada we are, actually. Douglas Elliott, nice to have you on board. What else do we have? Visly Pusley 1, nice to have you on board from Berlin. Are you by any chance that guy that is traveling to Germany lately? Eddie Essex, nice to have you on board. Il fait très chaud, effectivement. Murphys Mute, nice to have you here from sweltering in the Laurentian Valley, sitting outside today. Wow. D1DJK, nice to have you on board. I was thinking of doing a live show from outdoors soon, but with the temperature outside, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to go sweat outside and have the laptop probably running full speed fans because it's too hot. John Pickney, yeah, there will be one eventually, VHF UHF show. I don't know when yet, but I will be looking at that. I've been asked. There's a few people that did ask about, when will you do the next VHF UHF show and so on. So, Joe Rutman, nice to have you on board from sweltering Chicago. Todd Schmidt is from Illinois. Nice to have you on board, my friend. Roberto Rojas, buenos tardes, buenos dias. Nice to have you here in Chin Chin. Yeah, actually here it's Universal Time. So this is actually not Canadian time, because here it's 4 p.m. in the afternoon in reality. So we are 6 hours behind you guys in Norway, here in Montreal. William Helms, nice to have you here from Florida. And of course, nice to have all of you from Norway. Page Master, nice to have you here from Oklahoma. KI5CWF or WA5136SWL. I have 3 out of 6 USL cards from the 13 Colonies special event last Saturday. Just waiting for the other 3 to come in. Oh, this is cool. Always fun to have these. Not only is it fun to have USL cards, but it's also fun to when there's these series of cards. I remember many stations in the past that had these series of cards, and they would, tell you, well, if you write every month with a reception report, you'll get the full collection of a year card. Or HCJB was like that. They had like a card every 2 months, so you could have and collect all 6 of them. And I always was mad was when I would do reception reports and then miss out on a card and have 5 out of 6 cards for a specific year. The ones that I like, that I remember a lot, are the ones when I started QSLing HCJB in '83 in Quito, Ecuador. That year was the year of the telecommunications, and they had radio-related cards, which were very, really nice. Rufus Newt says, Brat is Ethan out. Cool. Paul P, nice to have you here in the UK. Bill, nice to have you on board from Florida. Ron Deming, nice to have you here from the Oregon coast. Sunny at 68 Fahrenheit. That's the kind of weather I would take. 68. So, yes, LN321 is in Norway also. Oren298, nice to have you on board. My location is Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And nice to have you here, KC2YKN. Todd Schmidt says, you're the 33rd level radio guru. Wouldn't be anywhere else. Paul is feeling all right. Paul is going well. It's so funny because Paul has spent, so it's been hot this week. And instead of staying indoors in the air conditioning, he insists on going out. And then I see him like on the neighbor's balcony or the neighbor's yard, like all spread out, like, you know, the cat's hot. And I'm like, why don't you come in the house? Here you have air conditioning. And he almost got sprayed by a skunk last night. So I go out to pee, and he'd been out for quite a long time, so I decided, I don't know, it's 4 a.m., maybe 4 a.m. I decided to go out and look at, you know, is Paul there? And I see Paul, but I see the skunk. And I've got a really unique skunk here in the backyard. Instead of being black with a white stripe, it's white with a black stripe. It's really weird. And the skunk approached Paul, and Paul isn't moving. And the skunk started doing these noises like, I think the skunk isn't happy. And he started like turning his butt towards Paul, and I was like, no, don't do that. So I just like, you know, and then the skunk ran away. But it was like, oh man, if I hadn't got up wet, Paul would have been sprayed. Robert Babcock, nice to have you here, W0RAB in Connecticut. And here it's pretty hot. We're supposed to have hot today and tomorrow, and then some showers on Sunday, and next week is cooler, like in the 80s, which is okay, you know, and less humidity also. D1DJK in Germany says that this week you listened to some programs from the BBC, Iran, Voice of America, Austria, as every day in the morning, no DX or any I have to report. I had a good signal from Iran Tuesday or Wednesday or something. I'm trying to remember which day. I think it was Wednesday. But unfortunately, their audio is so low, it's almost impossible to make out anything. Cosmic Lettuce, nice to have you on board from southeastern Arizona. Radio Week signal work, nice to have you on board. From Utah, K7LNP, nice to have you here, Pat. Jeff, KD5QDO, nice to have you on board from Beaumont, Texas. And cool. Hope it's Friday, so I hope you're not working this weekend and take a little time off. William Helms says, working on a modified Wonderbar Ballon 49-1. Nice how it's working from cold water pipe. Interesting. They're always tweaking antennas and stuff. That's the spirit. Yeah, Rufus, absolutely. Any box is a cat trap, absolutely. PLF Radio, Heatwave next week in France. Okay. Hope it's not going to be as bad as the one that you had a few weeks ago where it was really darn crazy. The one that JK says, in Germany they say up to 39 Celsius here, and Dortmund max 30. What I've heard in the news, wow. Wow. Hand cloud on 70 centimeters, man, going crazy, stormy here, says William. Yeah, usually, you know, here we have a thing called Canworn in the province of Quebec. Actually, it's across Canada also. And what they do is there's a special net activations when the weather gets bad. So, for example, today there's a chance of thunderstorms, and they said right now there's no warnings, but they said that we could have heavy thunderstorms later today. Usually, when thunderstorms light up and we start having risks of, warnings of heavy thunderstorms, we do have nets that actually activate on 2 meters, 70 centimeters, and they have reports from everywhere from people mentioning, what it looks like and how the storms are around where they are. Max Edstrong, nice to have you on board from Michigan. Hot and steamy. KC2YKN is from Albany, New York. Cool, nice to have you here. So Driver Films says Pirate on 6280 is Mustang radio. Cool. D1 DJK, what happened to the Grundig G5 which showed up in the last vid? It looks like it was fallen in sand on a beach. No, actually it's the finish. I explained it in the video. The Grundig G5, like several other receivers, has a finish a plastic finish, that over time it actually gets all kind of mushy, disgusting with humidity and probably the manipulation of your hands. With we got like oils on our fingers. So every Grundig G5 does that at some point. And there are other radios. I've got 3 or 4 here that have that rubber finish on it, and they look ugly after a while. But I will be cleaning them with. I've seen a few videos of people that clean them with different types of solutions. I'll be cleaning them to make them look back to normal, because it is absolutely ugly for sure. Mickey Delmonge, nice to have you here from Sherwood Park, thundery Sherwood Park, Alberta, Canada. Nice to have you here. What else do we have? Yep, Radio Taiwan, Radio Prague, even Radio Slovakia, I believe, also. So, really nice. So, Page Master says, worked 6 out of 13 stations during the 13 Colony special event. Pretty cool. Yeah, so it's exactly that, William. It's the rubberized texture coat that degrades. Dan Robinson, nice to have you on board. Eddie Gomez, nice to have you on board. How about my antenna? The W6 LVP loop is great. I'm learning its pattern, its ups and downs. So I've installed it in the front balcony so that it's easy to access, and I can actually have it. I can actually turn it manually if I wish to have it turned to have signals. A few observations that I have is that below 10 megahertz, it's an amazing antenna. It does seem to have some kind of deafness around 13 and 14 megahertz. When I tune signals on the 20 meter band, they're almost always stronger on my sloper with the Yaesu here than they are on the W6 LVP loop. 13 megahertz also. Above 15, it gets back to normal. So there's kind of a dip there where signals are not as good. In the lower frequency range, it's just amazing. I mean, just to give you an idea, this one is on my sloper, the Yaesu, and 3330. So this is CHU time signal in Ottawa. This is what you hear. Barely. It's very noisy. But if I look here, look how better it is here. It's way stronger there. So on lower frequencies, it is a killer antenna. It's just amazing. But it does have that dip. Around 13, 14 megahertz, signals don't seem to be as strong, and my sloper actually beats the signals there. but I'm really happy with it. It increased it actually made the signal to noise ratio better, even though it's still very noisy. And for the directional of the antenna, it's obvious from testing it and moving it around that I will simply be letting it in the same position all the time. Because for most shortwave signals, there's absolutely no difference, or very little that I've noticed, from actually rotating the antenna on the signals. Which is to expect, and it's a lot of what I've read on loop antennas is for certain types, like for medium wave, probably it would be very important for it to rotate. But I'm not going to listen to medium wave because those frequencies are blocked here. There's a, I got a low and a high pass filter on it because my stations here, AM, FM, are too strong. So now to overload the antenna, I'm blocking below 1.8 megahertz and blocking, I think it blocks above 6 meters. So for medium wave or long wave, probably the directional side of it would be nice. But on shortwave, with all the stations that I've tested, I don't see really a difference, whatever direction I put it. But still, it will be always maintained in a way that it's easy for me to manually turn it if I want. And basically, the antenna itself will be positioned in a specific way where it's the lowest noise possible, and that's it. But I'm very happy. Honestly, I am extremely happy with the antenna. Nice performance. And you know what? What makes me look forward to it in the winter, when the frequencies that we'll listen to will be really the low frequencies. I think it's going to be amazing. So anyways, I'm very happy, and I'm happy to have purchased W6LVP loop totally. Really nice to have it as an antenna. And like I say, if you don't have a lot of space, if you can't put up a wire outdoors, things like that, but you could put this loop on a balcony or something, you are going to have great antenna, because on most of the spectrum, the signal are as strong as my sloper, and in the lower frequencies, they're actually stronger than my sloper. So I'm happy, honestly. Thought maybe since he evolved backwards, this prick could smell like roses. Well, I would not test it out, Todd, but who knows? That'd be nice, having, I don't know, roses scent skunks. Maybe one day we'll genetically modify that. Matambali, anybody successfully removed 100% that awful rubberized coating? Well, I've seen a few videos. I've seen someone that actually, pledge the lemon scent pledge for cleaning the tables and stuff. I've seen someone successfully removing it with that. So I don't know. I'm going to try different things, and I'll post a video of the before and after. The before and after, honestly. So you guys will have an idea of before and after. And what I want to do is try different products, because since I have at least 3 or 4 radios that have that rubberized ugly finish, I'll be using a different product on each radio, and we'll see which one gets actually the more beautiful after I have cleaned it. Paul McDonald, VA7ZZT, nice to have you here from Aldergrove, BC. Nice to have you on British Columbia. Yeah, I do have a picture somewhere, but not easy to find right now. But he's just amazing. I remember the first time I saw him, I was like, what's that, a cat? But the way that they move and the tail, you see that it's a skunk. But it's just so funny because the first time I saw him, I was like, wow, he's reversed. He's a white skunk and with a black bar, you know. So it's kind of weird. So Max Headstrong says, yeah, I had a Sony ICF 100 that rubber turned to glue. It ruined it. Oh, it's disgusting. It is, when you take it in your hand, it's just disgusting to hold. Maybe that's even why I haven't used it that much, because it just was so disgusting to use that I just forgot it, you know. Sheldon Harvey in Greenfield Park, Quebec. Nice to have you on board. And don't forget, guys, if you want to have a sample copy of the Messenger, this Canadian International DX Club Bulletin, don't hesitate to ask. Sheldon will be happy to send you a sample copy if you've never asked for one. CIDXclub@yahoo.com, CIDXclub@yahoo.com. And it's a great electronic publication you can get in your email every month. Yeah, I did see that, like William Helm says, degreaser. Rubber coats degrades to grease. Degreaser should work. So we'll be checking that. We'll try different things. You got to be careful because it is still a plastic cabinet. So the stuff you use, you got to be careful to which one you'll put there, because you can not only degrade it, you can almost melt the plastic. So 26DX59DXer is a radio nerd and proud. I think we're pretty much proud of being radio nerds here. Leon DJ Kiss says, Iran signal is good at the moment, but modulation has sometimes big problems. Yeah, that's what I had this week, because if their modulation, I had like an S9 signal. If their modulation had been strong enough, I would have been able to easily listen to their programs. Keith Logan, nice to have you on board. Oh wow, really, PLF Radio, so you guys are going to have another really bad heat wave. Wow. I did see one video of somebody saying that they used alcohol. So I'll be trying that. I'll be trying that. You know what? Of course, I'll test with what is the safest on the Grundig G5. And if I mess up, I'll mess up on what is the least expensive of them. Randy in Riverside, California, KN6BZJ. Nice to have you here. Pretty cool. Kevin Wood says he's got his new induction range installed today. Cool. No interference coming from that, Kevin, that you noticed. Todd Schmidt says, is the G5 the same radio as the Texan 2000? Nope. They are different receivers. The Grundig G5 is a small portable. Yeah, over time and when you use it, I think it's a mix of, if you use it a lot, because my G5, I've used it so much, and hot and humid days all mixed in together. I think that's what's making that coating actually degrade over time. What else do we have? What else do we have? Brian Penny, nice to have you on board from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. JD Williamson, nice to have you here, my friend. Paul McDonald, nice to have you on board. Hot and steamy. Yeah, it's the same here in Montreal. Hot and steamy, pretty much. Mark Cope says the Dell laptop I use with the RSP1A has the same nasty finish as the G5. Oh yeah, I got one here. I've got an old Dell junk here that I've retired finally after, I don't know, 10 or 12 years of use. And you are right, that Dell that I've got here also has that disgusting finish. It's just disgusting. So it's crazy. You hear crickets. Oh, you must hear CHU in the background. It's CHU. What else do we have? George Pierola, nice to have you here from Chile. Nice to have you here, George. Pretty cool. CE4 HBK. The best antenna against noise. Yeah, well, you know what? It's no miracle antenna, but I got to say that the W6 W6 LVP loop that I have is a great antenna for that. But you know, it's a noise is a problem, and it's a difficult problem also to fix. And that is one of the biggest issues that we are facing with our hobby, is being able to you know, one thing that helps is locating the noise, then being able to maybe set up in a different location as far away from it. If you can't, it's just crazy. What else do we have? So nice to have you here, George. Valtz says, Clint has an interesting video about increasing signal and noise ratio using common mode choke. Maybe you can improve your signal on the sloper with it. I'm going to check that out. I'd be willing to, I mean, the sloper's staying up. I'm not removing the sloper. And I think they complete each other in reception. Like I said, you know, if a great example is, like, for example, right now, I'm going to show you an example probably that will work. So here's 13650. So this is Radio Romania on the loop. Maybe it's not strong today. So that's on the loop. That's on the sloper. It is better. So that's an example, 13 megahertz, where there's that dip on the loop. It's actually better here. I go to 11850. 11850 is not coming in, but there is better. I'm having better reception on the sloper than on the loop. It seems that they're missing off with 11850 right now. But so that's an example. Around 13 megahertz, there's a dip. That loop has some kind of little dip there, and I've noticed it in several of the signals. It's the only spot I've noticed it. It comes back to normal around 15 megahertz, where usually I'll hear WWV very well on the loop, but almost no signal on the sloper. Actually, signals there, but more noise. So I'm going to check that out. I'm planning. I think it'd be fun to play with the sloper and try to improve it in some way also. But both antennas are nice, and I'm happy to you know, be checking it out and just you know, comparing and switching. The only thing I'd like maybe soon to have would be some kind of antenna switch, so that, for example, I could use both of them easily without, because now it's complicated. There's no switch. There's not the same connector. I can't easily right now unplug my my loop and plug the sloper on the RSP1A. It's kind of complicated. So some kind of switch box. I'm going to check that out for that eventually. Todd Schmidt been thinking of trying a slinky helical antenna. What's your thoughts on the performance? Anyone run one? I did see a lot of videos of people using a slinky antenna. I guess it probably has a lot to do with the noise. D1DJK, the loop is not too bad. Others have tested and rated it very high. The AN200 has high reputation. The AN200 is an amazing little antenna. Amazing little antenna. For any AM DXer, it really, really is nice. What else do we have? Kevin Wood broke the antenna is new on his E5. It's easy to break, actually. I broke the antenna once, kind of inside the radio. I kind of opened it and kind of soldered a piece of wire, but it seems to be fragile. Philip Radio, like your videos about different topics about shortwave. Cool. You know, I am in the top 10 stuff, and so I was actually thinking of I'm thinking of different top 10s. I think it's fun. So now the top 10 is about top 10 you know, tips and tricks for beginners of shortwave radio. A lot of people enjoyed my top 10 favorite receivers that I own. I'll have a top 10 of receivers I wish I would have or own, and you know, I'm going to check out the different top 10s. What else do we have? What else do we have? Maglone, nice to have you on board, my friend. Yeah, Gugon, I've seen somebody use that for removing the goo. Brian Penny says has used Max Pro Remover to remove the sticky residue on his Ethon E1, 100% guaranteed and safe for plastics. So that's something to check out. I need to really check it out. Hey Luke, nice to have you here, my friend. Paul McDonald says his wife thinks I'm a frequency nerd, but she knows I'm not chasing skirts in the bar. Yeah, you know, there are some, you know, positive points to being a radio geek. You're in front of your radio, you're, you know, and I remember one of these, on one of the Facebook groups, somebody posting a picture of a wife beating her husband, and she says, "Why can't you be like a normal man? Look at porn instead of radios." Oh God. Trot Schmidt says, I use a product called DG Protectant. It preserves and protects plastic from ultraviolet. People use it on here on automobile dashboards and such, and cleans and shines very nice. Oh, that could be nice, because that is something also. If you use your radio outdoors a lot, the ultraviolet light from the sun, and don't think because you're in the shade that you have none. You might actually have more than you think. It does actually break the plastics over time. John Pigney says, taking my Sony 7600W with me to California next week. Going to try shortwave listening in rural. Cool. That's going to be fun. DXing from California. Yes, absolutely, D1. I actually thought about it when I thought about you when I actually put it there. I said, oh, he's gonna be happy. Daniela, nice to have you here. He's applied isopropyl alcohol on 2 Ethon E1s using makeup remover pads, and it cleans out 100% with no smearing. Patience is a virtue. So that's also something to check out. So 70%. Okay. Cool. Attachments is recently I just picked up a almost perfect PL380 on eBay for $35 shipped. It had a broken antenna, 2 minutes repair. Love this little radio, but like my Radio Wow much more. It is a nice radio, the PL380, but the Radio Wow is slightly more sensitive. In my own personal tests, the Radio Wow is slightly more sensitive. So, Max Headstrong, it is, but we can't just, whine and be depressed about it. We gotta, be proactive and do the best that we can, honestly. When I was doing that first video of the top 10 tips for beginners this week, and telling them, well, if you're not sure if you want to invest in a shortwave radio yet, go online and use online SDRs on SDR.HU. One of the biggest problems with that is that you can easily be spoiled, because a lot of them have so little noise that basically the thing about it is the signals are good, the noise level is low, and they might buy a radio and be in an environment where it's just tons of noise and be kind of pissed off because they're going to say, well, I listened to online and it was great, and now I listen at home and it's a bunch of crap. And that's one danger of that. And I think it's unfortunate to say, but I think there are some people that live in big cities that, unfortunately, the only way they'll be able to listen to shortwave, I can imagine, I was looking the other day, a friend of mine that lives in a condo downtown, and I was curious. I told him the next time that I'm going there that I'm going to bring a little portable radio, because I'm just curious about the environment there. And it's a really huge condo complex. And I was thinking maybe here, where he lives, it's impossible. I mean, he can't put up an outdoor antenna. He probably can't even put up a W6LVP loop, because they're going to say you can't put anything on the balcony. And I was like, people like that might be stuck if they want to listen to shortwave to use online radios, unfortunately. But the good thing about it is that they exist, so you can still tune a radio somewhere. It's just that, it's not your radio, you're not getting it with your antenna. But still, it's a radio somewhere. Brad Minton, nice to have you here. Which SDR is good all-arounder? Shortwave through microwave? Thanks. It depends on the price you want to pay, but I gotta say I'm impressed with the SDR Play RSP1A. You can also check out the SDR Play RSP2 Pro that can listen to 2 frequencies at the same time. They are amazing performers. As long as you have the antennas for it, the SDR Play devices are amazing performers all around. And not very expensive, honestly, for an SDR. Matt, UK, nice to have you here. Paul McDonald, because of Joe, I bought an ICOM R8500 and his Radio Shack adapter filter unit. Lucky to live close to ICOM company and got it cleaned up. Cool. The ICOM R8500 is a great radio. Man. Yeah, Texan PL380 is pretty good for the price, I have to say. But the Radio Wow has a little something more. It's pretty amazing. Like PageMaster, the SDR Play RSP1A sounds garbled on my speakers. You have to... No, okay. Here's the thing, PageMaster. Okay, first of all, if you're listening to an AM mode transmission, PageMaster, the low and the main frequencies, they have to be different. So if you try to listen to, say, China Radio International on 6020, that's the tune frequency. But the low frequency has to be different. If the low frequency also has 6020, it will distort your audio. So make sure that you have that. The other things about garbled sound, and make sure that the volume isn't too high within the computer. Look carefully at the different settings in the main panel for the receive control, the AJC, the filter width. Look at the audio panel also. How wide is the filter and all? Because you should have pretty good sound. But honestly, I have better sound with the outboard speakers that I would have in a laptop, although it still works on the laptop. But start by looking at that, PageMaster. Make sure that when you tune, the low and the main tune frequencies are different. Because when I had my RSP1A first, I had distorted audio, and I couldn't understand why it was distorted. I was listening to Radio Romania, and it was distorted. And it's while reading in a forum about distorted AM audio that I stumbled across a post of somebody said, oh, make sure the low frequency and the main tune frequencies are different. How do you do that? When they are the same, so here mine is tuned to 11850, but the low is at 11649.6. How do you do that? Tune your signal, your frequency. If the main and the low are the same frequency, take your mouse pointer and click on a different frequency on the display. You'll notice that the main frequency will change, but that the low frequency will stay where it was. Starting from there, you can actually tune back. So now I could type 11850, and the frequency of the low and the main frequency are different. So make sure it's not that, because a lot of people that have garbled audio, that's the problem. It could be something different for you, but start by looking at that. What else do we have? What we have? You, Kelvin Morgan, nice to have you here, my friend, from the UK, MW5 UFO. Mad Boy, nice to have you on board, my friend. John Pinkney says, nighttime AM is unreal out there. Best so far has been CBK 540 from Saskatchewan. Wow, pretty amazing. Yeah, I like the PL600. It's just this distorted audio is the biggest problem. If you fix it, it's all right. Yeah, you could check the output of the sound card default sample rate. That's a possibility. That's a possibility. Not sure, but the RSP1A usually is okay with its own setting default, but check it out. Check it out, that's for sure. Make sure that you've chosen the correct modes. Trying to think what else could distort your audio here. Paul McDonald, I'm drinking out of a can and you got a glass. Yeah. You know why? Because I thought that for purpose of having a better image on YouTube, drinking out of the bottle was kind of, I don't know, makes you look like a drunk. where drinking it in a glass makes you look more distinguished somehow. Maybe it's just me. Oh God. Yeah, the 600 does not mute on frequency change, and that is really, really nice. Shortwave frequency channel. Nice to have you on board, my friend. Just heard some nice and solid activity on his new realistic TRC 217. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Nice to have you here, my friend. I can't put the S350DL in my top 10. It's nice, but not in the top 10. Well, I need to have 10 transceivers to have the top 10 transceivers, though I could do the top 10 transceivers depending on what I read, you know. Actually, here we're having a move, talking about cans and bottles and stuff. We're having a move to cans here. The Belgian Moon that I purchased and I had a few weeks ago as white beer, there's no more bottles. They are now selling it in 12 cans. And apparently a lot of beer companies are switching over to cans from bottles. Well, you know, Paul McDonald, that is probably what annoys most people with our hobby, having, you know, the distortion stuff. Yeah. Montgomery Peak, 13,147 feet, and Bald Mountain Lookout, 9,104 feet, are on my destination list, along with the ghost town of Bodie, California. Cool. That'll be fun. Max Headstrong says, anyone ever dream about shortwave? I have a recurring dream where I am seated in front of a giant analog receiver just full of secret transmissions for me to hear. That's a good dream. You wake up from there. You know, where I would call it a nightmare if you would be sitting in front of a radio and you're listening to everything around the world because there's no noise, and you wake up to your radio with tons of noise in it. That's almost a nightmare. Todd Schmidt, my history in radio, Dad was in the Signal Corps in the 50s. Fell in love with his stories, went to school for communication electronics, worked in Walcott, Iowa truck stop back in the day. Cool. Component level repair of amateur radio and CB cell phones. Cell phones killed the CB. Now I build tractors at Deere and listen to shortwave. Well, you kept the radio. You kept the radio, honestly. I probably have dreamed of shortwave sometime in my life. I would guess. I'm pretty sure I probably dreamed of shortwave sometime in my life. You know. John Pickney, my grandfather used to say that without a good antenna, the best receiver in the world is nothing more than an expensive paperweight on your desk. Absolutely. Actually, what's interesting is that when I bought the Icon, and that paragraph actually hit my mind really well. When I got the Icon, my CRD 500, in the book, one of the first paragraphs clearly says that your radio is as good as the antenna you've got. So that means now that you got an Icon, better get a good antenna, you know? Oh, man. David in Barcelona, nice to have you on board. Yep, the RSP1A settings are in the help file. Absolutely. Yeah, when you go in the country, absolutely, Paul. It's so much better. So much better. Ray Kelly in Nova Scotia, nice to have you on board, my friend. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Oh, I'm sure it's a pretty cool dreamer. What else do we have? Let's check it out here. Ray Kelly. Yeah, it's more classy. John Pickney says, you'll do your 690, 940 in Montreal, still transmit from the suburb of Brossard. I believe they are off. I think they are. You have to ask Sheldon. Sheldon probably knows better where they're transmitting from. But I believe they are still in the suburb. The same, I think it's the same antenna, AM antenna farm that the CBC used. Talking of 690, 940, I'll go to it a little bit because this week I stumbled across 940. That is the French language news station, and now they've changed their slogan. They're kind of saying this is the best mix of news, weather, sports, music, and I'm like, okay, weren't you supposed to be just a all news thing? And it's funny because there was a guy talking about some news items, and it felt so unprofessional. I was listening to the guy talking for like 30 minutes because I was kind of curious, who is that guy, and what he was talking about, different subjects of the hour in the news. And I was like, wow, this is like really unprofessional. It feels weird. Not what you would think of as, a new news station, if you want. It felt like, well, they just found somebody somewhere, and they said, hey, you want to do the news or stuff or whatever. It was really weird. Yonkino, it's nice to have you on board. In Ireland, enjoy your challenge, just getting into shortwave. Thanks for your tips and reviews. Got my first recently, the Texan 310, getting some great results. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. It's a great radio. Todd Schmidt, Digitech AR1780, nominated for top 10 list. I hear a lot of positive on that one. Absolutely. Absolutely. What else do we have? 6205, Laser Hot Hit Pirate. Simon Templar, nice to have you here. John Cooney, nice to have you on board. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I'm getting there, guys. I'm almost catching up now. Woohoo! So Sheldon, 690 and 940, transmit from Kanawake. Yeah, that's where I remember the antenna was. Yeah. I almost said it, but I was waiting for your confirmation, Sheldon. It's from Kanawake. But it felt so weird. Oh, 940, okay. 690 is from Mercier, and 600 and 940 are in Kanawake. Okay, that's interesting. It's kind of interesting. But I mean, I was listening this week, and that guy sounded so unprofessional. I was like, really? Where the hell did he get that guy to talk about news? It feels weird. It sounds weird. After 30 minutes, I was like, I'm not listening to that again. Coaster 2301 Productions. Nice to have you on board, my friend. Pretty cool. 1040 is in Saint Constant on the South Shore, and it's for some part a country station, country western music station, but there's a mix of stuff in there. I haven't listened to 1040 in such a long time. But 1040 is still on the air from Saint Constant, South Shore of Montreal. Yeah, 690 is. Did I say 690 and 940? It's 600 and 940 that I'm talking about. I mixed the frequency here. 690 is that sports station. That's it. It's 600 and 940 that I wanted to talk about. That are supposed to be. The last 3 or 4 times that I tuned around on medium wave, 600 was just music. Only on 940 do I hear what sounds like some new, some kind of news stuff mixed in with the music, but it just sounded so weird. Don Warner, nice to have you here, my friend. And we are at 1 hour in our show. Hope you're enjoying the show today. And I am caught up with the chat room, which is nice. A couple of things I wanted to talk about, and I'll halt the chat room here. So a few people were asking me some of the stations I listen to in a typical evening here in Montreal. So what I would listen to on the Shortwave International broadcast bands would be, so Radio Romania is one of them. I listen to the French language because it is at a time where I will not have necessarily other things to listen to. But you know what? It has that feel because I have to make choices because at each time interval there are often more than one station I'd like to listen to. So in a typical evening, say like from 6 p.m. to midnight, local here. So 6 p.m. to midnight for me is 2200 hours UTC up to 0400 UTC. What I will listen to mostly in an evening. So if say that tonight I take a portable radio and want to listen to shortwave broadcasts, there's a lot of people asking me, what do you listen to in the evening? Because I know that not depending on where we live, it's not all the same, and we don't have all the same transmissions. You guys in Europe are obviously better off. You got more choices in an evening than we have here. But thanks to WRMI in Okeechobee, Florida, we are getting some nice stations. So typically, what I will have is either listen to, so at 2200, it could be Spain in English and French, because they have 30 minutes English, 30 minutes French on Mondays, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. That will be a choice. Lately, they've often been off the air. I don't know why. But when they are on the air, listen in. 9830, also I listen into Voice of Turkey. Often I listen to Voice of Turkey at that time. And usually in the evening what happens, so at 2300 I'll be tuning around some of the WRMI frequencies and check out different programming. My favorite broadcast of the evening comes at 0100 UT. Thanks to that fantastic frequency of 7300, BBC World Service has been really packing a great signal here. 7300 at 0100 UT, and it's been reported across a big chunk of North America. A lot of people are hearing it quite well. So that frequency is great, and it's when we get to the winter schedules, I'm gonna miss that frequency if they remove it, they don't keep it, because it's just amazing signal here in North America. I'll be listening to the Voice of Vietnam, sometimes at 0 UT. So here I got to make a choice, because at 0 UT, for example, I'll have a choice between Vietnam, BBC, China Radio, Radio Romania. So I got to choose what I listen to. So depending on how I feel, I'll tune one or the other stations. We'll be listening to at 01. Often I'll choose Romanian and French for 01 instead, or Vietnam sometimes, because if I want to listen to the BBC at 0100, then I have to move on to those stations. So it's interesting because there's at least some choices. I often am at 0200 on WRMI 9395. They have Slovakia, they have Radio Prague, usually making a good signal here. They have Ukrainian radio that I'll listen to sometimes. So, there's some interesting stuff in the evening. We're in the summertime, so in the evening, starting at about 0200, I often have a decent signal from Radio New Zealand to listen to. That also that's one of my preferred summer listening, and it really brings me that feel of summer radio listening. Radio New Zealand 13840 is pretty good, pretty decent signal. Lately, it's been very, very strong. But sometimes I might, tune into Romania for the West Coast. It's for the West Coast, but it gets a great signal here at 0300 on 6040, I believe. And there's also Turkey once again on 9515. And if I stay up later, well, sometimes I'll try to go up to 0500 and tune into Radio Japan or some of the stations that actually broadcast at that time. There's the BBC that sometimes has an interesting signal around 0400 on 9915. That one's transmitted from Oman, I think. So that's kind of what I will be listening to. But that's if I want to listen to international broadcasts also, honestly. Because if I don't listen to international broadcasts, then I'll tune around the amateur bands. Summertime is great here in the Northern Hemisphere to listen to the 20-meter band, because there's lots of Europeans that actually broadcast. They transmit over the pole because over there it's 24-hour daylight, so it actually supports 20 meters. And you hear tons of European stations making contacts in the evening, which is kind of cool. Or I'll tune around and try to find some unusual utility signals and stuff very often. But that's pretty much what I'll be doing most of the time when I tune in. Hey, I say have you here, B. Stay with your XH Data D808 rather than the Digitech model. It is a good, but the XH Data just pips it. So he says that XH Data D808 is better. Thanks for the comment. Nice to have you here, my friend. Pretty cool. What else do we have? Simon Templar was one when the Apollo 11 launched. Yeah, I was April, May, June, July, 4 months old. I remember all of it. I'm always joking everybody. Yeah, I was 4 months old. I remember all of it. I was on the couch and I was watching that. Maybe somewhere really far away in my brain there's something, I don't know. John Pickney says remembers listening to Montreal 600 in Virginia and South Carolina daytime on 6005 kilohertz CFCX when it was owned by Canadian Marconi and was Canada's first Canada's finest. I know now it's TIQC or such. Yeah, CFCX. That I don't remember when that went off, but I remember getting a faint ground wave of CFCX on 6005 kilohertz. Where was the transmitter of CFCX 6005, Sheldon? Do you know? Was it in Kanawaki? Where was it? I remember getting a faint ground signal, but it was always very faint. I never could get a really good CFCX signal. Yet, I was living next to it, of course. It was really, really close. D1DJK says, you have the choice between French and English. I have choice between German and English. It's always good to know two or more languages. Oh yeah, absolutely. For shortwave, I've always enjoyed that, because for shortwave, some of the times, you don't have necessarily a choice of anything interesting in English. So you look and there's some stuff in French. It's like, oh, I'm going to listen to that in French, So it gives you more choices. The more languages you know, the better shortwave is. If I speak Spanish or understand Spanish, I would be able to actually, listen to a lot more broadcasts. So it's kind of interesting. The more you know languages, the cooler it is on shortwave, because you have more choices of broadcasts. Simply, oh, nice to have you here. Didn't come into the world until 3 years after Apollo 11. The iconic phrase of Armstrong. I was stepping off the ladder. Chris Freitas, nice to have you here, my friend, from North Fort Myers. About to drink some champagne. Oh, yeah. Cool. Hope you're feeling well, my friend. Vianney Arsenault, bonjour. Bienvenue de la Gaspésie. Toujours un plaisir. Toujours un plaisir. Terry Cook, nice to have you here. Joe Summer Newhouse, nice to have you on board from Brazil, my friend. So, no problem, Paul McDonald, always nice. The only JK Radio New Zealand is strong in Europe in winter times. I receive it a couple of times in December, January. And, you know, that's interesting because the different, you know, stations and you know, you have that, because, you know, I always put that as a summer, because you listen to different stations and depending on the frequencies they use, some stations actually have a better, you know, pattern for listening in a specific time of the year. So Radio New Zealand, unless you wake up in the morning, because if you wake up early in the morning, I believe you listen. There's a frequency that Radio New Zealand actually comes in really well in the morning here on the East Coast. But for the most part, right now it's on 13840, which is nice. But for a long time they were on 15720, Radio New Zealand, and you know, I mean, that was my summer listening. It was only in the summertime that I could actually hear it in the evening. So I always tagged the station as, oh, that's the summer station. So when summer was coming around and we're getting, you know, into May, and I would like slowly listen and see that the signal is getting stronger and stronger almost day by day. Then you got the peak of summer where it's really strong, and then as we move on, and you know, I mean, we're moving on fast. We're July 19th, so we're already 1 month. We're already 1 month past the solstice. So you know, 1 month, it's starting to show slowly that the propagation slowly changing. And so you have that peak time, but you know, as we'll get into August, we're going to start seeing major changes already in propagation characteristics because of the changes in the season. So you know, it's kind of nice. And so there were some stations like that. You know, Radio Australia, when it was on the air, 9580 was the all year long frequency. But I remember evening Radio Australia for me was also a summer station, because I would listen to it on the 19 meter band. And when solar activity was really high, I even could hear it on the 13 meter band, 21 740, I believe. And I have a few QSLs from that. And that was summer listening, you know. And by the way, I read on, I think it was in, I listened to, not this week's, but last week's World of Radio by Glenn Hauser. It was mentioning how KBS World Radio has decided to pump more power into their frequency of 15575. And it was really interesting because Glenn made the comment, which is totally right, of how come you can't make it to North America when North Korea actually has more of a signal into North America than you have, which is kind of a joke. I mean, 15575 is a joke. It's totally, you don't really care about shortwave or what. If you want to be, you know, heard somewhere, better check their time, your frequencies that you're using. I mean, come on. And, you know, I think if anybody writes to KBS, you know, I should do this actually. We should just ask KBS World Radio, you know what? Stop wasting money on 15575, and why don't you rent some airtime over WRMI and at least give us some decent KBS World Radio programming via that station. because now they're just wasting time. The 15575 doesn't come in well. Another station that's kind of tough on their frequency this year because of the low solar activity is Radio Thailand, 15590. I've tried a few times, had just a little peep on the waterfall here, barely audible. 0-100, 15590, unfortunately. I almost wondered they shouldn't have stayed on 13745 like the winter frequency they use. Maybe it would have been better. Sheldon, yeah, 6005 transmitter antenna was also at Kanawake. Okay, cool. John Pickney says was 13, and in Scranton, Pennsylvania, from Ottawa to Virginia, when Neil Armstrong made his historic comment. Oh man. Beyond DJK says, if you would speak French and if I only would speak German, we never could communicate this way via chat or in general. Yeah, absolutely. You know, when I started listening to Shortwave, my friend of mine, Jean-Pierre, was also listening with me. He didn't understand a thing about English, pretty much. And I remember we spent so many times on the phone, or together somewhere, with either at my place or at his place with the shortwave radio, and doing reception reports of stations that did not have French language broadcasts. It was it was fun because I could listen to it, and sometimes we would listen on the phone, and it was like, okay, well at this time they said this, and at that time they said that, and now they're having the news and they're talking about this or that, and I had to translate all the time. It was kind of wow. Chris, yeah, we do have rough weeks happen from time to time, and now you know what, you're home and taking it easy, taking a little wine and watching, and hopefully listening to some shortwave or radio. Just put that all behind and decide that now you're living a nice little evening, doing what you want and just taking it easy. Rick Ray, nice to have you here from Turkey. B says, if you don't mind me saying, Jill, give your sister's bunny gift prominence above the clock as it represents her good memories. Yes, you are right. You are right. Where is the bunny? Oh, it's there. It's there. Let's try. You're totally right on that. Here we go. Let's try to put it like this. How about that, guys? Huh? It does represent my sister that, for those that don't know, died of cancer several years ago. And that rabbit has a little significance. It's a little special for me. So here we go. Isn't that perfect? It's just perfect there. Look at that. So thanks for the suggestion. You're totally right. The only JK says, summer stations are here, the Africa stations and late evenings and early mornings, South American stations. Typical winter stations are from Asia and Far East. Yeah, more languages is kind of fun. Very much. Yeah, no telescopes can see the lunar landing sites, but there's been some pictures taken from other spaceships that actually have been able to pin down and see the moon landing sites. So I remember Radio Havana, Cuba having all that Feliz Navidad card every year in the at the beginning of each year with those little pocket calendars that they always have. Now I'm going to say something bad here, but I always found that their little pocket calendars were ugly. Hey, I want to have a pocket calendar, and then it would come in the mail, and I'd look at it and say, wow, this is so ugly. But, you know, you had a pocket calendar from Cuba. It's kind of cool. Andy Coley, nice to have you here. Nikki Dalmash says, tried for the North American service KBS World Radio at 13-15-575 this morning. I could tell it was English, and that's all. The strongest I had it was, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. I was able to, I actually could hear the interval signal. So I knew it was KBS because it has one of those interval signals that you definitely know. But when the program started, forget it. It was impossible. I had absolutely no idea what they were talking about. And that is sad. That is really sad. So, you know. D1DJK, I like KBS as well. Because, you know, KBS World Radio does have some interesting programming. I sometimes will stream, what the? You guys hearing that? That's the Algeria. We have a probably day one or something, and they're like doing, you know, some kind of they're running around in their cars like crazy and using their honkers to annoy everybody about the fact that they probably won. Oh man, crazy. So, anyways, KBS, I've been listening to sometimes on my phone with they have an app. You can download the KBS World Radio app, and you can hear the English broadcast there and you know, listen to it when you want. Chris Freitas, closest thing to hearing KBS, that is when you listen to World Radio Network, which I typically listen to online. I remember the station was a bit easier some years ago, but it was there, you know, it was actually, it was better. It was better when solar activity was higher, of course. You know, I mean, it's obvious. It was better. Yeah, that is true, Chris Freitas. It would be nice to have Radio Taiwan International relay their programs. You know, it's funny because Radio Taiwan, for those that are old enough, it was called, Voice of Free China in the 80s, and then changed to Radio Taiwan International. They were some of the first to use relays. Voice of Free China would relay from Okeechobee when it was owned back then by Family Radio, WYFR. And they were some of the first relays ever from North America. You know, one of the things I would have loved is I would have, you know, I would have dreamed of the Sackville transmitter site being, turned into a relay of different stations from around the world for shortwave for North America. That would have been nice. But yeah, Radio Taiwan. But Radio Taiwan has really has a lot less hours of shortwave now. They seem to be focusing to other target areas. But yeah, true, Radio Taiwan. I mean, a lot of stations should be using these relays. And once again, you know, there's a lot of people that, you know, I get this all the time. People start telling me, if KBS would be via WRMI, well, you know, it's boring because there's no DX challenge. And you got to stop thinking about only DX challenge, because first of all, it doesn't remove the fact that you can still DX it and try to DX it, because there are other times in their schedules where they'll be transmitting from Korea that you can try for. One of them, 11810. I know that there's a period of time when sometimes I actually hear it a little bit on here, and I think it's for Europe. I am one of those that, yes, I totally understand that listening to KBS World Radio direct from Seoul, Korea is a lot of fun because it's far away. But I also am a program listener. I like to listen to programs. Yeah, Radio Prague in the evening is not coming from the Czech Republic. Yeah, Radio Slovakia is not from Slovakia. Your Radio Ukraine is not from Ukraine. It's from Florida. And technically from Montreal, Florida is almost as far as listening to it from Europe. But still, I remember posting a video of, I think it was Radio Prague, and this smartass came to my channel and commented, I don't know why you posted this, there's no DX in there, it's boring, it's easy for you. That's beside the point. I'm not posting this as a DX magic amazing reception. I'm posting this as, this is a log of today I listened to Radio Prague. Here's a snippet of what it was, how strong it was, and yes, it comes from WRMI. I'm one of those guys that's happy that WRMI actually has all these relays. I mean, I listen to the programs. In an evening, an example, last night, I fired up my Amiga 500 and started playing a adventure game called, what is it called? Cruise for a Corpse. So the discs are here. You can see that I'm still, and I'm not lying, and actually it's still on right now because I haven't finished. I'm about halfway through, so it's still, the computer's still on. It's just paused where I'm at the game right now. Well, you know what? What's nice is because of the speakers that are outboard, what I do is I actually put the WRMI on 93.95 to listen to Radio Prague and Radio Slovakia, and I just switched TV to the game, and I listened to that while I was playing the game, so I could listen to the program and have their different programming, which I find interesting. So you got a choice, and it's definite that there are different types of people that are on shortwave. There's DXers, those that just want to have that faint 3-watt station in whatever country 10,000 miles away, which honestly is very cool, and part of my fun is trying that out. But honestly, it's also program listening. It's not just chasing QSLs of an exotic station. It's also program listening. And for that, relays are cool. Depends where and how you look at it. So man. Hey, Mr. Paul. Come on. Look at that, guys. We've got a little sleepy cat here. Wants to say hi. And Mr. Paul, so the Amiga is here. You can see that it's actually turned on. You see a little red light there because I'm playing a Cruise for a Corpse. So Mr. Paul the cat saying hi to everybody. I'll try to position his face so you guys can see it. There we go. He's got a face like, yeah, what the hell you doing? Who cares? So Mr. Paul saying hi to everybody. And we'll take this occasion while this beautiful cat is here to do a little self-promotion. If you like what I do, don't hesitate to give me a little donation on paypal.me/shortwave, or if you are on PayPal, just send it to the Yahoo email that you see here. While Paul says, what the hell you doing? There we go. So you can send the donations there. Helps pay for the cost of many things. Expensive internet bill. It helps to pay, food for Paul the Cat so he can actually appear on the show. It helps to, bring the little things that are what you would expect that, is running this operation, buying new gear when you need it. And there's, lots of little stuff sometimes that you need to pay. It could be lighting systems that I need to change, and so on. And I mean, this is, I'm here every Fridays, and I know you guys enjoy this. Think about it as a, kind of a subscription thing. A few of you out there are kind of, doing it like that, saying, hey, I give you a donation once a year or whatever. It's like my subscription to your live shows, And so thanks for donations, and thanks for those that are donating. Remember, if you have never donated and want to help out, it's always, nice to have you all on board. And, I'm here every Fridays, and we do shows, 2 hours, 3 hours, and more sometimes, and we talk about radio, and I know you guys enjoy this a lot. So if you do like what you see, if you do enjoy being here every Fridays, why not think of a little something? What else is there to talk about? What else do we have? What's my 21? I'm in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Mr. Todd Schmidt. Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast part of North America. What else do we have? Yeah, like the bunny there. Cool. You're a proper person, Joe. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Tam. Let's have you here. BBC cutting off North American broadcasts, and most of the UK sucks. The internet is in the damn radio. I hate that. Yeah, it's something that is okay. Thanks for the info, PLF Radio, because we have a pretty big Algerian community here. So Algeria won the African Cup in soccer. So that means that at the corner here, several streets are probably closed now, with tons of people in the streets having fun. And I'm surprised though, because usually they never come on the streets here. But that's what you guys heard. Pierre Fredia. Yeah, Deutsche Welle, German's broadcaster, is unfortunately very small compared to what it was. Well, simply, anyways, Voice of America was jammed pretty much, simply, when throughout the 60s, 70s, and 80s, most of the 80s, most of the time. So Mr. Paul is trying to find a way to cuddle up with me and say hi. You little kitty. I don't know if you guys can see him now, but he's like purring really a lot. Poor little guy. So Mr. Paul the Cat, for your enjoyment. Yeah, I get Voice of America on some several frequencies. This summer, 15580 is not that great, but I have in the wintertime, 15580 is usually very good. BBC on 7300 here at 000 is really nice, and that I'm really happy, because BBC was a tough one, unless I go to the Expedition stuff, where the noise is lower. So, Jose Frugon says, do you remember Radio Magallanes versus VOA radio battles during Cold War nights? Hurt tells me something. It rings a bell, but I'm not sure. So, David says, Radio Exterior España still holding up on shortwave after Spanish fishermen who operate overseas protested an attempt at closing some years. But it's not like it was before. But the fact that they actually have put back French and English broadcasts, I find it cool. Wish it would be every day, but it's better to have 3 days a week than nothing at all. So the only JK, I don't listen to radio on the net. When I receive it on the world band receiver, simple as that. Todd Schmidt says, I watch YouTube videos, mainly Joe and other stuff off Amazon. I don't like listening on iHeart or any internet shows. Yeah, I do listen a little bit on some stuff, but most of my listening isn't done online. It really is done on, really done on the shortwave bands. I listen to the shortwave most of the time. And if I have a choice between listening to, BBC on shortwave or on the internet, I'll choose shortwave first, that's for sure. Oh, man. Yeah, Radio Canada International, Radio Netherlands Worldwide. Oh, man, all these stations. We're all like that, Todd. Yes, Mr. Paul is here. Everybody's happy. It is fun to have online receivers, though. I gotta say, it's really, really cool. And for stations that you can't, I like to use them for stations that you can't hear where you are, or sometimes see what the medium wave band looks like in different countries. It's kind of a lot of, it's really cool to do that. Chris Freitas says, I wish I could have my RTL SDR to work on my Chromebook, but still waiting for more compatibility with Android and Linux. At least my Executive Traveler 3 works a small great radio. It looks like a very, very nice radio, absolutely. Cosmic Lettuce says, my kitties think the cardboard boxes are the best too. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It like now, at least for Paul, says John Bigney. How old is Paul the cat? Not really sure, but we kind of estimated that he's about 8 years old, 7 or 8 years old is the estimation that we have here. Hey, Paul, how about it? You almost got sprayed by a skunk last night. I want to see you do that again. So, oh yeah, when I Todd Schmidt, is Paul the person you said was laying on the deck instead of air conditioning earlier? Oh yes, Todd. Oh, you, yeah, okay. I gotta say, if you don't know who Paul is, you're wondering what the hell I was talking about. Yeah, Paul. This is Paul. It's the name was given by the woman that actually owned this cat before me. So just a quick rundown. This cat was my neighbor's cat, but he started coming over here and he was staying here. He would sleep here. So one day she says, is my cat going to your home? And I said, yeah. And when she moved, she said, I want my cat to be happy. I want Paul to be happy. And he seems to be so much happier with you than he is with me. So she gave me the cat. So of course, I looked him in the eyes and I said, well, okay. I have one little contract that I'm doing here. Is if I'm taking you, it's because I'm taking you for the rest of your life. It will never, never be separated. I'll never, never, depart and leave Paul in a shelter or something. I just couldn't do that. So he is here with me for all of your life, man. Yep. And I know I'm going to cry my heart out the day he dies. Poor little Paul. Oh, man. What is there here? So Paul has a great little radio. Yeah, that video with the Texan R9012 was just so funny because Paul was actually pushing my hands, like saying, hey, I'm here and I want you to, pet me and Take care of me. Chris Freitas is watching through mobile now as the power went out. Oh ho. Be careful there, my friend. So yeah, he is a cute little fella. Take care, D1DJK. It was nice to have you on board. I don't know when it's going to happen. Your channel will go really big time when you get the ICOM 8600. If you don't mind, what is your advice on saving Paul from being sprayed by a skunk? So, well, he was not sprayed, but I simply scared the skunk away, and the skunk left. But he was, 5 minutes later, I think the skunk would have sprayed Paul, and that would have been something. So buy an ICOM ICR 8600, although very nice radio. There's a lot of other things for now that I'm actually kind of thinking of rather than an 8600, but it is a beautiful radio for sure. But I do need to modernize. Maybe what I was thinking is modernize mostly because of digital VHF, UHF digital stuff. I would probably be nice to have a new radio that has all of that decoding of the digital modes today, for sure. WF7I Homebrew, nice to have you on board, my friend. Thank God it's Friday. Yeah, pretty cool. Terry Cook says DX Commander mentioned that he liked your channel on his live show a few days ago. Oh, really? Cool. Cool. I have a lot of people talking. I stumbled across a broadcast a couple of weeks ago from oh man, what was it? Anyways, he had mentioned my channel, and it was like, wow, oh, cool. I guess the world's going around. Todd Schmidt says, I took all my radios to a quiet park and had a heyday, the expedition style. Used the V115 to use for audio boosts on the line-in, and used to record 128 kilobits MP3. That's cool. PLF radios. Yesterday on the U20 SDR, I saw something strange. Someone sent texts, letters, and pictures directly on the waterfall. I don't know about this technique. What do you think? Yeah, actually, I saw even one guy post a waterfall pic where there were penises going down the waterfall. So somebody decided to kind of have fun for anybody that had an SDR. So yeah, you can actually, it's all audio driven. So basically what happens is that when you receive, so the waterfall that you see there, of course it goes with the audio. So if I take, for example, one line here, like 11860 where it's very strong, and I expand this, so a lot of what you see there is all driven by the audio of the station that is on that frequency. So that big white chunk that you see here, and that audio, depending on how you play it, can draw, of course, patterns. So what they do is they found the way to draw whatever they want using sound patterns. The shortwave radiogram that has digital modes, they do it. He puts radiogram on the waterfall in wording. You see it appear. And so if you have the right software to do it, you can do pretty much whatever you want and draw things by sending the correct audio frequencies. Simply that. So John Pickney, with Paul's advent tourism, stock up on tomato juice. WF7I Homebrew, do you have a top 10 best VHF UHF scanners or suggestions on best radios for the VHF UHF channel? I don't have one yet on the channel there. I would say that I've seen a few things that make me think that, for example, the Whistler TRX 1 or 2 are pretty good. I need to brush up more on my on my checking out of what is you know, a good VHF UHF scanner radio, because there's a lot of new models today that have digital mode decoding. So the Whistler TRX, there's the ICOM ICR30 portable, of course the tabletop, like the ICOM ICR 8600. There's some Bearcat and Uniden models that actually do have digital mode decoding. I need to brush up on that side of things and read more, for sure. Actually, that is a good. I'm just gonna check something here, guys. Since Paul's gone, I don't have to watch my belly. So here we go. That use of the TFDO V115 for the recording and the audio is actually an interesting idea, because one of the amazing aspects of the TFDO V115 is how amazing the audio is out of that little thing. Touch pitch, since you have Paul as the cat, you should name the white raccoon Ringo. He has an alternate name that is DX, because the first day that he actually showed up on my balcony, I was in a chat room with other shortwave listeners, and everybody was like, "Oh, name the cat DX." So he's got an alternate name, DX, also. Chris Freitas, power's back on now. Good thing about Florida, at least the power comes back quickly. Unlikely, but lightning strikes knock it out easily. Yeah, well, it's protections, Bro Weaver, nice to have you here. I heard you saying you listen to Alan Wiener Worldwide on the WBCQ. How often do you listen, and is there any programs you listen to religiously on shortwave? That's a good question. Okay, religiously, I will listen to a couple of DX shows. So one of them is, I kind of like the laid back, relaxed Alan Wiener Worldwide WBCQ at 000 UT on Friday evening in North America. 0 UT is Saturday UT time. It's kind of laid back and relaxed. I like to listen to, I almost always listen to the DX chunk of stuff on WWCR at 03 to 04 UT on Saturdays evening, North America. Once again, it's UT Sunday, 03 to 04 on 4840 kilohertz. They have Ask WWCR. They often talk about interesting topics. There's the Japan, is it the Japan or rather DX thing? And there's AWR Wavescan that I kind of like. It's an interesting DX show, AWR Wavescan. And hey Jim, yeah, it's paypal.me/shortwave. It should work, but if it doesn't work, go to your PayPal account and send it to the Yahoo email that I posted, because I know that sometimes the link sometimes doesn't want to open for some reason, but it's paypal.me/shortwave, not .com. But just go to your PayPal account and send it to the Yahoo email if you can't use the link. Jim McMullen, nice to have you here, by the way. 2E0TDR. So I will also often try to have a moment where I will listen to World of Radio. Glenn House's World of Radio is always a very interesting listen. There's a lot of news, a lot of stuff in there to listen to. If I take the DX shows out, because that's a lot of mostly DX stuff, I can't say that I'll listen to a station specifically for a program, but it's more like I listen to a station for what they actually have in shows. So, Radio Romania and stuff like that, honestly. And I can't, I would say that I can listen to a lot of stuff on shortwave. What I usually don't listen to and really never really enjoyed it is listening to any music programs from other stations, except there's really some few exceptions. An example, Radio Nacional Amazonas from Brazil does tend to have some nice Brazilian music in the evenings. I miss, but still hear from time to time because they have one frequency left, is HCJB. The Ecuadorian music they played there was beautiful, but I still sometimes hear it. 6050 kilohertz in the evening. Sometimes they do have some Ecuadorian music. Boy, it brings me back to the good old days of HCJB being a powerful transmitter on shortwave. I like mailback programs. For some reason, I've always been attracted to knowing who else is listening. It goes back a long time. I remember listening to shortwave when I started listening to shortwave, and it's I always say it's a solitary hobby, and basically what happened is I stumbled upon the first ever mailback show, and I believe it was on WIRFR, where they were actually reading letters on Sundays, and I found that cool because it was like, oh, I'm not alone. There are other people out there that actually do listen to shortwave, and this is so cool. But apart from the DX shows, the mailback programs, I like to listen to a lot of different stuff. If there would be a good frequency, I would say that I probably would be listening online on shortwave to the BBC NewsHour show that I like a lot. But I can hear it well from a FM station here from Vermont on 107.9, and I do like that. The business report on 7300 at 0100 UT on the weekdays, it's like the business report or something, and they talk about, it's kind of interesting. I like that. But apart from that, Radio Romania's series on what life was in their communist era is kind of interesting to listen to. See how life was back then and how things had changed is pretty nice. But I'm pretty open. I'm pretty open to listening to I'm pretty open to listening to most shows that talk about stuff from countries, from their own countries. Knowing a little more. I like knowing more about the different countries that the stations come from. It's kind of cool. John Pickney planning on the expedition in September to go to my grandparents' old farm near Wagner, South Carolina in September. Shortwave and TV will be tried. Have to go for a cousin's wedding. Cool. I'm this week temperatures are going to be lower, like in the 80s. So don't be surprised if I should do a de-expedition, urban de-expedition, either Perry Island or some other location. If I do, I'm planning on finding a way to do a little live stream. It's not going to be 3 hours long, but maybe do like a 1 hour live stream off of one of my de-expedition locations. Take care, PLF Radio. It's nice to have you on board as usual, my friend. So we'll be checking that out. But I need to get out and do some de-expedition a little bit and do a little more reception, and I want to do more of them also, through August, September, before winter comes back, actually. Todd Schmitz has picked up one of those $25 V115s, and you will have a digital record of that trip. The radio has shortwave, but it really functions the best as a inline digital recorder. Yeah, the shortwave part isn't the best, honestly, of the TVO 115. But I have to say that the audio is surprising, and you do get a nice digital recorder, which is kind of cool, and for the price, it's crazy. Dr. Sissop, nice to have you on board, my friend. What else do we have? Joe Sobranu, once I received the 25 meter, 19 meter strong signal that I was taught that is a kind of radar, but I discovered that was digital radio mondial. Do you know about this mode? Yes, my friend. So DRM is a mode, a digital mode of audio that a lot of stations are trying to push. Unfortunately, I think it's a little, kind of more of an annoyance than anything else, and it's difficult to copy, and if the signal isn't great, it's not working well. But it is something that for a long time, they tried to push it as being some transmission, some mode of transmission that will, give high quality shortwave reception and good audio, FM-like audio, if not more. Now, there's kind of I would say that there's some stations are kind of reviving the DRM mode a little bit. I'm hearing more than I did in the past couple of years. But honestly, it's so difficult to really decode correctly. You really need to have such a great or amazingly strong signal with very low noise in it to decode that. It's just, crazy. One of the easiest, the 19 meter band is the Voice of Nigeria, that I actually heard this morning, by the way. Voice of Nigeria on 15120. Around 1415 UT, they were on DRM. That one is easier to actually decode because they lowered the bit rate, so it actually is easier to decode. But man, it's crazy. Radio Estéreo de España missing again. It was missing on 9690 earlier today. So yeah, missing, as it's going into what would have been English. And it's interesting because it's on 12, I don't know if it's that, but I think it's on 12030, but it has no audio. It is on 12030 with no audio. There's like these, they definitely have some problem. I mean, 12030 is actually giving a good signal, but there's no audio. There's these like ticks here and there, and that's it. So, is the input of the V115 stereo or mono? That's a good question. I'm not sure. I am not sure at all. It is stereo? Okay, well that's good, because I wasn't sure if it's stereo or not. On these cheap radios, you're not, you don't know half of the times. So yeah, but there's no audio on 12030. There's just but I mean, here it's strong. It's almost S9. It's S9 now, but it has no audio on it at all on 12030, unfortunately. Maglone listens to Glenn Hauser every week. Yeah, it is. I mean, it is a very nice. I mean, he works hard. all the information in there. That guy works so hard for producing that show every week. It's just crazy. Dr. Sisop, why does Radio Havana on 6 megahertz never listen to us, as their audio is so unbearable? And why do they waste their time broadcasting? Well, you know what? Here's the thing. That falls in the same category as Radio Cairo in Egypt. So if you ever stumble onto one of the frequencies of Radio Cairo, you will notice that Radio Cairo has very distorted, if they have audio, no audio at all. And Radio Havana Cuba is getting in the same category. Funniest part is, you know what? They know. It's for sure they know. And I mean, Glenn Hauser actually mentions it every week on how distorted the audio is, or how low it is, or how, I think with this week, I was surprised to one night 6 megahertz was actually good. One night. But often I click, it's very low audio, or so distorted, or kind of weird. And it's like that on almost all of their frequencies. And I think the biggest problem is they have the transmitters are going and they have no parts to repair or something. And yeah, they still transmit. I mean, they want to keep up the transmission, but yeah, it's the same. It's the same as Radio Cairo. I mean, Radio Cairo packs in a really good signal into North America. It's just unlistenable 99% of the time. So they are wasting money broadcasting to people that don't listen to anything. It's part of those things sometimes. It's, we could have the same discussion on what I talked about earlier, which is, why does KBS World Radio have a North American service on 15575? They're just spending money transmitting with nobody listening because they're not making it. Zachary Antle, I think the reason you like the mailbag shows is probably the same reason why people are into reaction videos these days. It's making us. I like mailbag shows because you hear other people listening in somewhere in the world. Yeah, V115 is kind of it's not going to be in my top 10. That's for sure. 10715 lessons on how to not count numbers in Spanish. 10715. Did I hear it here? Yeah, it's there. Pretty good signal too from the Cuban number lady. 10715. 10715. Let's try it on the icon. On the Yasu. This is a definite case, so 10715, definite case that I hear it better on my W6LBP loop. It's pretty much in the noise in my Yisu on my sloper antenna in the backyard. So 10715, the Cuban number lady is there. David in Barcelona says, got a V115. Mine is branded Reticus on November 2018. Taking advantage of the Chinese Singles Day sales on AliExpress. Paid almost nothing for the thing. It's like a Swiss Army knife. Dr. Sisop, WRMI 7780 is clear now, but 9395 jammed again. Let's try it out. Let's try both. Do I hear 7780? 7780. Yeah. actually some music with a really good signal here. It's not the same program. I don't have the same program on both frequencies, Dr. Sissa. 7780. It's talk. 9395 is music. And it has a really good signal here. 9395. But, oh well, that was 10 minutes ago. So maybe they had the same program 10 minutes ago, but they have a different program now. But they are, I hear the signal is good on 9395. PageMaster finally got the garbled sound away from the speaker on the SDR play, went to the main settings on the main panel and changed the input IF mode from low IF to zero IF. Now it works. Cool. I'll be able to listen to it. I didn't think of that one. Low IF to zero IF, because I'm on zero IF here. Or I'm in low IF. I'm IF mode, I'm in low IF. Let's ZEF, zero IF. I'll try to compare the audio of zero IF and low IF. Kind of interesting. So glad you sorted that out at least. Oh, I got a 115. It's actually right there. I see it from here. I got a V115. Do a WWV check. Yeah, let's check out 25. 25. Oops. 25, 20, 15. 15 is in. Lots of fades, but 15 is in. 10. It's there, but it's weaker. And the other ones I won't hear, 2.5, because it's still way too early. Still a couple of hours of sunlight left here. Mr. Lucky Train, nice to have you on board. Hello from a hot, near 100 degrees, unbearably humid southern Pennsylvania. Wish I could join you now in a more comfortably cooler and less humid Montreal. It's actually almost as hot in Montreal. Honestly, my thermometer here is at 31.5 Celsius, which is and lots of humidity. It's pretty hot in Montreal, I can tell you. We're not that far from that temperature, I can tell you. With the humidity, it feels like past 100. It's pretty crazy. John Pickney says the 5-figure Spanish number station used to have RHC audio mixed in. Oh, they sometimes mess up. Honestly. Because from time to time, what happens is that you hear Radio Vanek Cuba on a frequency where it's usually the number stations, and it happened that you hear that it also happens that you sometimes hear the number station on a Radio Vanek Cuba frequency. So, it's kind of, when that happens, it's kind of funny. Dirty Diaper 21, nice to have you here, my friend. Okay, checking out if anybody has sent messages or anything. Sometimes people send me messages while the show, and I forget to check and see if sometimes they want to talk about something, or it's just so no nothing special on the email front. Terry Cook, U.S. Coast Guard was experimenting with DRM back in 2016-17 for maritime broadcasts. I haven't heard anything about it lately, honestly. Create a fire Drake to jam Radio Vania. Yeah, I should get a commission from Amazon for the V115. Oh man. You know, think about the V115 as not that much of a DX thing, but for the price, you know, just hang in there and think of, for the price that you are paying, you're getting an MP3 recorder, an MP3 TVO version. This is the TVO version. You know, turned it on. So there we go. This is let's put the volume down a little bit. So this is a TVO V115, and it has, I believe I've put a little card. So I got my little memory card here, which is a 2 gigabyte card that I put in here to record. And actually, if you guys want to listen in, so this is 7300, the BBC received on this thing, recorded on the SD card.
But you're saying it now in your country. There's no surprise. The left is internationalist. They understand what's happening out there, and they understand how to own the narrative. I mean, there are so many important things going on in the world, and we're talking about statues, really. Well, I want to be clear. We're talking about little girls who are getting their genitals mutilated. We're talking about statues.
So that was 7300, the BBC. Oh no, that was not. Sorry. That's the other guy on WWCR. Sorry guys, that's not the BBC at all. But anyways, you guys have an idea of how it works a little bit. Let me just check it out here. Any other recording? So I've got some music.
The really major event in both our lives.
If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Q. I'm Tom Power. I'm speaking with Camille Nanjiani and Emily Gordon. They're the husband and wife team behind the new film, The Big Sick. I know that Judd Apatow was a producer.
So this is an FM station that I recorded.
From him that stood out.
So you know, it's kind of nice. There's a lot of stuff in this radio, and it of course supports it has that little lithium battery, which is I believe it's the BL5C lithium ion, which is a battery that was used for a long time on Nokia phones. So you know, it's an AM/FM shortwave station, radio with MP3 recorder and playback. Sound from the speaker here is very surprising, I have to say. So you know, that's the TVO V115 for you guys. Let's just say that the V115 is okay, nothing more, not a DX thing. But I have actually used my Texan AN200 loop on medium wave with it. It actually turns it into a very interesting little AM receiver. So you know, check it out. My complaint here is that here I got really strong FM stations, and it overloads on FM stations a lot, and I have a lot of difficulty listening to it. It's very noisy internally, so don't be surprised if you put your hand on the radio and you hear more noise. It's very noisy internally. But you know, you guys are gonna pay $14 for it today, shipping included. Think about it as a cheap radio, and you're gonna have fun with it. And I mean, for $14, you actually have a keypad entry. That is exceptional, honestly, really exceptional. So you know, it's crazy times, as they say. Jeffrey Prop, nice to have you on board. He says it's down to 88 in New Hampshire. So we're pretty much at 890 or maybe 890 here. But the idea is the recording is nice. Oh, by the way, it's not a TF card. It's a micro SD card. That's a micro SD card. It's not a TF card. Owen81, nice to have you here. It's micro SD card. Here, let me show you. This is simply a micro SD card. But this one is a verbatim 2 gigabyte. It's a regular micro SD card. Am I buffering bad? Here everything's okay. Let me just check something here. No, I'm moving here. Everything's all right here. Kind of weird. Maybe I did. Move the cable, and it created a little problem. But it's surprising. And for 14 bucks, or 14 bucks, you know, it's okay. Carl Krugman, nice to have you on board. KD9LTQ. You know. Oh, you guys gonna have a new toy to play with. Actually, the Tibio V115 is worth 14 bucks. You know, even if you're not too much of a radio listener with it because of some problems, the fact that it can play MP3s, or you can record, and you can even use there's a line-in. You can even use a line-in. You know, just the sheer fact of that is, it's already worth 14 bucks, honestly. Handy Tobin, nice to have you here. Simplio says, my little Radiwao R108, hearing 5980, Radium RT, supplied 10 feet wire antenna. Cool. I mean, you know, 14 bucks for what you get is not bad. Yeah, I actually stepped on the cable, the Ethernet cable. Oh, really, Dr. Sisop, micro SD and TF? I'd rather say micro SD because TF cards, nobody knows much, but they are. You know, I mean, to play around with, it's perfect, it's fine. VE3KRP, nice to have you on board from Thunder Bay, Ontario. Pretty cool. Butterbean, nice to have you here. Pretty cool. As we are, I'll do my self-promotion one last time. If you want to do a little donation, paypal.me/shortwave. Or send PayPal donation to here, and you can also become a Patreon or a patron at patreon.com and join 11 other patrons at patreon.com/radio and computers. And thanks for your donations, guys. Helps a lot. Helps me stay on the air. Buy new Ethernet cable because I stepped on it. It seems that it has some kind of problem. So, you know. Oh, I see a problem here. I see that my Wi-Fi and my Ethernet is now jumping around. I'm gonna actually keep it on Wi-Fi. So we'll see if everything is all right, guys. I'll keep it on Wi-Fi. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. So you're watching the Shortwave show from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And we are, of course, having fun talking about radio. And anything else anybody wants to add? So we now have the deal of the day. Anybody that wants a very cheap portable radio, apparently Amazon has a TFDO V115, which is this little receiver for $14, shipping included. So you can't. Nothing can go wrong. Minnow Poo, nice to have you here, my friend. YouTube shirt fits me well, thank you. It is a nice colored and nice shirt, actually. So very nice to have it. So Spain, is Spain back, or Spain is not there tonight? Yep, not there on 9690 and 12030. Only a very strong carrier with problems. So Spain isn't there. Is Turkey there? 9830. 9830. Spain is missing. That's also one that's missing quite often. Spain and Turkey. But Turkey also, 9830 is often one of the frequencies that it's off the air all the time. Owen 81 says, well, a little portable shortwave radio like a Texan or XH Data perform better than my IC718. I guess I can drive my car somewhere less noisy and listen with a portable radio. Here's the thing. A portable receiver does not reach it doesn't get to the point where it can actually perform as well or better than a higher end radio like the IC7018, like my ICOM. But like the XH Data D808 is a great sensitive radio, and if it is because you can go out with the portable receiver in a less noisy location, you will actually get amazing performances out of these little radios. The XH Data D808 would be the best choice right now, and you will receive a lot of stuff. But remember that these portable radios, even the more expensive ones, do not, even though some of them are really good, they don't quite get to the sensitivity and quality of higher end ICOM or Kenwood or any other higher end radio that you might actually purchase. So they don't replace. But for the portability and the fact that you can move somewhere where you'll listen in to stations in a lower noise environment, I think that's good. That's where it's all going to be, and that's where you'll get more signal, and they're going to be great. But of course, if you can have your IC718 at that same location, it might actually be better, for sure. But it all depends on noise, and today's portable receivers are amazing performers. Honestly, the XH Data D808 is amazing performance. I am amazed at what this thing does. So this is the XH Data. For what you guys wondering what that is, XH Data D808 is this beautiful radio, and man, I'm happy with this thing. It's just crazy nice, and been one of my favorites lately. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and pretty cool stuff. Yeah, RadioWow is not bad. Absolutely, the RadioWow R108 is surprisingly good. Also, it beats the Texan. It beats the Texan PL380. Honestly. 0181. Thank you. At home, I have a 33 feet end fed with 9.1 Unan, and it's awful. So much noise, can hardly hear anything. Then, if you get a XH Data D808, for example, and go to a location where it's quiet, you'll have a lot of fun, and you will have a lot of performance on it. You'll have fun. Honestly, just the fact that it's lowered the noise level because you're going somewhere, where the noise is gone, that radio is going to be a lot of fun. Take care, Simon Templar. Will earthing the antenna make a big difference, do you think? Thanks for the advice. Grounding, well, if you're talking about your home location IC718, grounding your station can often do some noise reduction, but not always. And an example is here. Here, grounded or not, I see no difference. But yeah, it can help, and you should actually try it. And make sure that you have good quality coax for your receiver, because cheap coax often have problems with the shielding, and a lot of noise actually goes through it. And look at the location. Can you change the location of that antenna? Can you put it in a different pattern, a different way, or in another place on the yard or somewhere? That could sometimes be better. Sometimes can lower noise. But we are living in a environment where it's just crazy noisy, and more we have noise. So that's why I got the W6 LVP loop actually. Butterbean hooked his Stanchion 505 to a Bluetooth speaker because of factory speaker blew, I guess. And while the Bluetooth speaker sounds awesome when hooked directly via cable to the Stanchion. A lot of receivers, when you plug them into a good quality speaker or amplifier, will surprise you. Even portable receivers. Hey Olivia, nice to have you here. Have a nice day also. Dr. Sissa prefer Eton grounding satellite dual conversion as it beats the Texan PL 660 and 880 single conversion radios. The 660 are not single conversions, they are dual conversions. Both the 660 and 880 are dual conversions. They don't suffer any image. They are not single conversions receivers. John Pickney, surprised at skunks being seen in Montreal. There's tons of them. We have skunks and we have raccoons. So here there's a skunk and there's a raccoon going around. I saw the raccoon the other day. Ever talked to Industry Canada about the noise problems? You know what? There's nothing they can do about it. We're living in times where all the cheap Chinese junk is getting here, and we're all getting noise from all of that. We got noise from so many different things. I suspect that the bell lines actually are creating noise here, but there's nothing they're going to do, and they will do. Yeah, Dr. Sishop, all the Texan PL 600 line are all dual conversions. 600, 660, 680. They don't print it, I think, on the. They don't print it anywhere. But they're all dual conversions. It would be idiot for Texan to not have the dual conversions of the price that we're paying, the 660, 680, and 600. And they are really dual conversions. So, Sean Pickney, the PL880 is dual conversion when it works. I mean, so hey guys, 2 hours 30 minutes. I'm gonna say good night to everybody. Tonight we're having chicken. I'll be cooking some chicken, and I don't know yet how though. I've got chicken that I will cook. Bro Weaver, when storing radios, any tips? I know you should remove the batteries, But will LCD displays be okay in the sun? Will capacitors dry out if it's not powered for a long time? To answer that question, Bro Weaver, today's receivers are pretty tough. So yes, if you have alkaline batteries, do remove the batteries before you store them for a long time. LCD displays hate sunlight, especially when it's really strong sunlight that makes the display come really hot. That can actually totally wreck an LCD display. So a shortwave radio or any device that has an LCD display actually should never be left in the sun. And the radio should anyways not be left in the sun because of high heat that it could actually generate within the plastic casing. As for the rest, you know what? Today's radios in 30 years from now are still going to work. There's it's crazy how electronics have advanced, and the electrolytics capacitors today are not like they used to be 40 years ago, 50 years ago, even 20 years ago. So most of them will still be in perfect working order. So just be careful not to put it in the sunlight or in high heat too much. Raton volant, yes, Olivia, they are raton volant. So but if they're stored properly and not in the full sunshine and where it's not too hot, it's gonna be okay. So take care, everybody, and I hope that you I miss Chalet Suisse. We don't have that anymore here in Montreal. I love Chalet Suisse. It's like Red Lobster. There's no more Red Lobsters in Montreal. Dr. says on my Texan get FM bleed through so bad on air band some of the frequency band of my Ethon. Yeah, it's not because of dual conversion. It's another type of problem that makes FM bleed through. It's the way that the receiver handles the input of the frequencies. When a signal is very strong, it overloads it, and the circuit just can't handle it. So pretty crazy. So the next show, by the way, for anybody that wonders, is next week. We will be live officially next Friday, next Friday the 26th of July, 2000 UT. And possibly a little stream next week coming up from one of my D Expedition locations, if the weather is nice. So no problem. So have a great time in California, John Pickney, and take care, my friends. Love you all. Stay safe, and hope you enjoyed today's show. Bye bye now, and take care.